Most security advice sounds simple. Be careful, double check, pay attention. But what if that advice is fundamentally flawed?
Carefulness assumes you're always alert, always focused, always thinking clearly. You're not. No one is.
Security built on attention depends on something that depletes. Energy fades, context shifts, deadlines, compressed judgment. And that's exactly when mistakes happen.
This episode reframes security entirely, not as a personality trait, not as vigilance, but as architecture.
Carefulness is emotional.
Safety is procedural.
And procedures remain when attention doesn't.
And that right there is the core reframe. If you look at the first slide of the presentation we're covering, that's it. It's about shattering the illusion that just trying harder is a security protocol. The slide puts it perfectly. Carefulness is a state of mind. Safety. Safety is an external structure.
Which, that really touches a nerve for me. Because be careful is what we're told about everything. It's what you tell a kid crossing the street. It's what IT tells you on your first day. And when you fail, when you click the link, it feels like a moral failing, like you were just being lazy.
Exactly. It's treated as a personal criticism. And that moral failure idea is precisely why we keep getting into trouble. I mean, the source material points out the huge flaw in that logic. It assumes the user, you, me, anyone listening, is consistently alert, unhurried, and, fully focused. But just think about your actual day. Is that ever true for 8 hours straight?
Maybe for 20 minutes, right after my second coffee. But the rest of the time, no.
Of course not.
I'm thinking about lunch, or I'm annoyed about some meeting, or I'm just plain tired.
Right. And the source actually breaks down why carefulness is so unstable. It lists these 4 biological factors: energy, mood, focus, and cognitive load.
Oh.
And these aren't just buzzwords, they're biological realities. Energy literally depletes over time. Your mood can shift without any warning.
And cognitive load, I feel like we hear that phrase all the time, but how does it actually, degrade your security?
Think of it like your brain's bandwidth. Every single task you do, it reserves a little slice of your processing power. And this is where the source brings up decision fatigue.
Oh, okay.
We tend to think of checking email as, a passive thing. We're just looking at a screen. But we're not.
We're sorting. We're judging.
We are constantly judging. Every single email is a micro decision. Is this sender real? Does this need a reply right now? Is this spam?
Should I even open this?
Exactly. The source notes that by 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, you might have made thousands of those little judgments. Your decision battery is physically drained.
So relying on carefulness is... It's like relying on a battery that we know for a fact is going to die every single day.
Precisely. You are betting on your biology. And your biology fluctuates. Security that fluctuates with your mood is just not a stable foundation.
Right.
The source has a great analogy here: a locked door. A locked door does not ask you if you're tired.
It doesn't care if you're in a bad mood or rushing.
No. It's a procedure. It's a structure. It works. Completely independent of the human condition.
That distinction is huge. The whole state of mind versus external structure. A state of mind is fleeting. A structure is just there.
Yes. The source says it outright. Errors aren't from lack of intelligence, but accumulated depletion. It's not that you suddenly got dumb at 4:30.
It's that you ran out of the fuel required to be skeptical.
You ran out of gas.
So I have to ask the listener right now, think about your average Tuesday. Think about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. How sharp are you, really? If a really good phishing email landed in your inbox, then one that looked 95% real, would you have the mental energy to go hunting for that last 5%? Or would you just click it to get it out of your inbox?
That's the danger zone. And what's really fascinating is that the attackers, the scammers, they know this.
Oh, they time it.
They absolutely time it. They aren't just sending these emails randomly. They specifically target these windows of depletion.
Which brings us right to that end-of-day error scenario in the presentation. I have to say, this is one of the most relatable parts for me, the 5 p.m. setup.
Let's walk through it because it is so common. The conditions are predictable. Your workday is almost over. Your goal shifts psychologically.
You're not in verification mode anymore.
No, you're in completion mode. You want closure. You want to go home.
You're closing tabs. You're packing your bag. You can hear the traffic starting up outside. And then... ping.
An invoice shows up, or an approval request, or, a password reset email. It looks totally routine.
Right.
And because your brain is desperately seeking that little dopamine hit of an empty inbox, you approve it. Not because you verified it.
But because it fits the moment.
It fits the moment.
Wow, it fits the moment. That is such a scary and accurate phrase. We approve things just to make them go away.
And that's exactly what we do. The source calls it a predictable response to cognitive exhaustion. Fraud attempts are built to exploit this. They are not trying to outsmart you. They're trying to outlast you.
It's interesting because we hear the term social engineering a lot. And I think people imagine it's some, master spy tricking you to giving up secrets.
Right, like in a movie.
But the source frames it very differently.
It frames it as just exploiting cognitive weakness. They lust the levers they pull. Context switching, for one.
Okay, what's that?
If I can get you when your attention is divided, say you're on a Zoom call, but you're also checking email on the side, your guard is just naturally down.
Authority bias. So it looks like it came from the CEO.
Of course. And the big one, time pressure.
Do this and now. Urgent! Your count is suspended.
Exactly. That urgency, it compresses your ability to deliberate. It bypasses the logical part of your brain and just hits the panic button.
The amygdala.
Right. The source says, anxiety overrides analysis. If I make you panicked, you stop thinking and you start reacting.
And if you think you're just going to be smart enough to spot that while you're stressed and tired.
You're fighting a losing battle against your own brain chemistry. It's not a character flaw, it's a cognitive pattern.
There's another scenario the material covers that I think is really relevant for a lot of people listening. Travel. The whole road warrior vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely. The environment of an airport or a conference, it's an environment of friction.
It's a chaos. It's noise.
Mm-hmm.
The Wi-Fi is terrible. Your laptop battery's at 12%.
Exactly. You're rushed, you're tired, you are constantly shifting contexts. You're looking at the departure board, then your phone, then for an outlet. The source just says, in these places, carefulness disappears.
I feel that so deeply. When I'm at a hotel and I just have to send one last file before a meeting, I am not checking the SSL certificate on the login portal.
No.
I am just praying the internet connects.
And that is where the architecture, the system, has to save you. Because your willpower to be secure has been totally eroded by the friction of the environment.
Okay, there's one more scenario that I thought was really insidious because it happens inside the office. The delegation gap.
This is a huge one for any team or company. It's all about undefined boundaries. We delegate tasks all the time. Hey, handle that invoice, get that new vendor set up.
Sure.
But the source points out that we often transfer the responsibility without transferring the protocol.
So you create a void.
A void of ambiguity. If I tell you to pay the vendor and you get an email from them changing their bank details, do you check it? Or do you assume I already checked it before I told you to pay?
I'd probably assume you checked it. You'd assume I would check it.
And that is the gap. The source says, if no one is designated, everyone assumes someone else handled it. Who verifies bank detail changes? Who confirms a domain transfer? If the answer is just someone, I guess, you have a massive vulnerability.
I want to pause here and just ask the listeners, in your own work right now, are there tasks where you just assume a colleague is doing the security check? Is it actually written down anywhere? Or is it just a vibe?
A vibe. I like that.
Let us know in the comments. Because that vibe is where the hackers live.
It really is. And, this brings us to the pivot point. We spend all this time breaking down why we fail, why biology and psychology work against us. But now we have to talk about the solution.
Right. Can't just be depressed about our tired brains. We need a strategy. The source calls it default deny and pre-decided rules.
But before we dive into that, I think it's important to mention that keeping up with this kind of structural thinking, moving from be careful to build systems, it's a constant process. This landscape changes so fast.
Absolutely. And if you're getting something out of this deep dive and you want to keep your mindset sharp on these topics, you really should subscribe to the NCWEBDEV YouTube channel.
Yeah, they're consistently putting out content that helps you stay ahead of these curves so you don't miss all the new stuff coming out. It's not just tech news, it's this kind of strategic thinking.
So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for NCWEBDEV. Okay, back to the solution. Default deny. That sounds a bit technical. Is it like a firewall setting?
The source clarifies this right away. It's a behavioral posture, not a technology setting.
A mindset.
A mindset. It establishes your baseline response when you face uncertainty. In a firewall, default deny means if a piece of traffic isn't explicitly allowed, it's blocked. Period. The source argues humans need to adopt the same thing.
Okay, so what's the rule for a human?
The rule is, if you are unsure, you pause.
That sounds simple, but it's kind of the opposite of what we do. Usually, if we're unsure, we sort of squint at it and try to figure it out as we go.
Right. We proceed cautiously. The source says, no, don't do that. Uncertainty is signal to stop, not to proceed cautiously. It's a stop sign, not a yield sign.
Okay, so we've stopped. Then what?
If it's unexpected, you verify separately. This part is key. You have to verify outside the channel that delivered the request.
So if you get an email asking for money, you don't reply to the email and ask, is this for real?
Never. Because if that account is compromised, the hacker is just going to reply, yep, totally real. You pick up the phone, you send a Slack message, you use a different channel.
And the third part of this?
If it feels urgent, assume it's manipulation.
I love that. If someone is screaming fire, your first thought should be to assume they're holding a match.
Exactly. Faked urgency is the oldest trick in the book. So if you just adopt the posture that urgency equals suspicion, you basically make yourself immune to that pressure. You break the spell.
But the source goes further than just this general behavior. It talks about pre-decided rules. This is the part that really clicked for me after we talked about decision fatigue.
Yes. A pre-decided rule is a commitment you make in advance, when you're calm and rational, to eliminate any negotiation in the moment. You're automating your own behavior.
So you're making the decision on a Sunday morning so you don't have to make it on a Tuesday afternoon when you're completely fried.
Precisely. You remove the deliberation phase entirely when your judgment is compromised. The source gives some really specific examples that everyone should probably just adopt.
Let's run through them.
Number 1, bank details. The rule is you never approve changes via email alone, ever. You always require a secondary verification, preferably voice or video.
So it doesn't matter if the email looks real, if the boss is yelling, if the font is perfect. The rule is the rule.
The rule is the rule. It eliminates the choice. You don't have to be a detective. Number 2, urgent links. The rule is never use them to log in. Go directly to the platform yourself.
So if I get a text saying my Netflix account is canceled or my bank account is frozen,
You do not touch that blue link. You open a new browser tab, you type in netflix.com, and you log in there. If there's a problem, the platform itself will tell you.
that seems so obvious, but in the moment, that link is just,
Yeah.
it's so tempting.
And that's why the rule has to be pre-decided. Number 3, MFA. Multi-factor authentication. Never, ever skip it for convenience.
Right.
And the last one, which is so critical for businesses, wire transfers. Never execute without voice confirmation.
So you have to hear their voice.
You must hear the voice of the person authorizing it. And with AI voice cloning getting better, video is even safer. But at a minimum, you need that second channel.
You know, these rules, they take all the pressure off. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be a robot following a script.
And that takes us to the philosophical core of this whole deep dive, the battle between architecture and willpower.
The source has a section called The Power of Boring, which, again, is not what you expect to hear in a security briefing.
Yeah.
We all want to hear about spycraft.
We want security to be exciting. We want to be the hero who stops the hacker at the last second. But the source says security looks like repetition.
It looks like audits. It looks like workflows and checklists.
It says a heroic response to a breach is measurably less effective than a boring routine that prevented it.
So if you're being hero, you've already lost.
In a way, yeah. The comparison the source draws is vital. The willpower approach says, I'll remember to check. And that fails under stress.
But the architecture approach says the system makes this hard to mess up.
The system carries the load that the human brain cannot always carry. That's such a powerful line. We are trying to carry way too much with our brains.
We are. We expect our brains to be firewalls. But brains are permeable. They get tired. They get emotional.
Procedures are walls. They don't get tired. They don't need coffee.
So as we wrap this up, let's talk about the strategic benefits. Because this isn't just about not getting hacked. It actually makes life, well, better.
It does. The source lists them out. First, reduced emotional load. Fewer decisions means less strain. If you have a rule, you just follow it. No stress.
Reduced regret cycles. That's a big one. You spend less time wondering what went wrong or why was I so stupid?
Exactly. And then there's institutional memory. Procedures outlast people. If your security depends on Bob knowing what to do, what happens when Bob gets sick or leaves?
You're vulnerable.
But if it depends on a documented workflow, you're safe. It's about moving from being reactive to being structural.
From people-dependent to process-dependent.
That is what operational maturity looks like.
It's a total shift. It stops being about me versus the bad guys, and it starts being about my system versus the chaos.
And that's a fight you can actually win.
So here's the final thought I want to leave everyone with today. We've talked about fatigue, rules, boring routines.
If your personal security depends on you having a good day, you are already vulnerable.
Think about that. If you need to be well-rested, happy, and fully caffeinated just to be safe, you're already in trouble.
So ask yourself this. How many areas of your work life and your personal life rely on your mood rather than on your architecture?
Go build some boring routines. Thanks for listening.
Stay safe.